Hello, we are going to be unboxing the Gigabyte U4UD today. So this recently just came out and I've ordered it from box. So we're just going to have a look what it's like inside. So a box within a box to get us started, classic. And then let's get rid of this security seal. So let's pull this tab out. Open this up. So that aside, let's look at what it's like for us. Okay, so it's kept in some stuff to keep it dry. We've got what looks like a cable, a power cable and box stuck down there. We've got the laptop itself is between two bits of polystyrene. Let's take apart one bit at a time. So we have our power cable in here by the looks of it. We have in here our instruction booklet, and now here we have the laptop, which seems to be in a bit of a little case, or a little felt thing at least anyway, to protect it from scratches. So we're probably just going to slide this out. A lot easier. And wow, that is light. That's my first impression here. Very, very light. Okay, so let's pop these bits off. It's super light actually. So this one is, I think it's just underneath 1 kilogram if I remember correctly. I'll open up the protective layer, and here we go. Okay, so here is the Gigabyte U4. I'm going to be keeping the protective stuff on it for now, just in case we need to return it. But we can see I've got pretty small hands as well for context, but yeah, nice and light, really light. Try and open this up now and have a look under the lid. Okay, so we've got a little keyboard protecting thing here. That's fine, we can drop that to the side. We've just got a little bit of film across the top to protect. Awesome. So yeah, in terms of the keyboard layout, it's really nice to see that you've got a large enter key here. Something on the UK layout that you don't often get on these smaller laptops as well. You got your page up and home and page down and end kind of merged onto these keys just above the arrow keys as well. But yeah, so this is the i7 with the pretty high, or the latest i7 as well, which is the 1195 G7, I believe. So yeah, it's powerful. Well, it has the potential to be powerful. Now, the downside to this laptop, from what I've read, because when I ordered it, there were no reviews online. And then just after it come through, I found a review online, and the review pretty much was saying it's good, but, and the big but is due to the lightness of the machine, it pretty much will not reach the full potential that you'd hope to get out of the processor. And that also, because we're working on integrated graphics, that impacts the integrated graphics too. So yeah, that is a bit of a shame, because it ends up making it about like full workload. It ends up being about the same performance as the slightly older 11th gen i7 as well. So that's one of the negatives to it. But it's, for the spec, it's a decent price as well. It's just a shame that you can't quite get out of it as much as you'd like. But yeah, okay, so we have our charger as well. Let's go ahead and keep this stuff together. So the charger, just get the protective thing off the plug. Plug that in here. And then we have ourselves the power brick, which is pretty tiny actually. That's probably me, not like the last laptop I used was a chunky 15.6 laptop with no consideration for being a small form laptop. So for me, this tiny brick is lovely, and the cable's nice and thin as well. The power side of the cable is as thick as you'd expect, but the one leading from it is pretty thin, so that's a nicety. Just drop these back in the box. Okay, so I can get this powered on, and we'll see our first impression. And our power button, well, I'm kind of glad there's not a power button. I've seen some of these keyboards where the power button is above the backspace, which can be a bit problematic. Okay, so there's a little power button here. I'll show you. Just by here, almost like the old CD eject keys when the laptops would have a CD drive. Let's turn this on. Okay, we're alive. Yeah, it's pretty nice. It's very straightforward design, kind of minimal in a way, but it's pretty nice. And as I said, one of the most impressive things is just how light it is. Keyboard itself, as I said, for a small form laptop, it looks pretty nice. Really pleased we've got decent size. It's very much in line. You can see my UK keyboard here. And if we compare it, we've got pretty much a similar layout in terms of the not massively long shift button. The controls are a little shorter. You function as you do next to the Windows button to differentiate that. But other than that, it's looking pretty similar. And yeah, the backspace here is not just a single key, it's a bit longer as well. So yeah, it seems like there's some effort's been put in to make sure that the keyboard feels right, which is quite an important thing. We can take off this protective screen thing. It's not even stuck on. You can just sleeve it off like that, which is nice. I try and look after the laptops when I get them new, just in case something goes wrong or I need to return it for any reason. You can see that screen, it's got a nice matte finish, so it's not too much of a glare from the light behind me. Obviously you wouldn't want to be working with the light exactly behind you, it's not perfect, but compared to some of the prettier screens that you get, which are made straight from without the kind of matte finish glass, yeah, it makes a difference. I'm just wondering, yeah, this doesn't have, when you open the screen full, it can go flat, I'm pretty sure. My keyboard's behind it now. Let's move it and have a check, shall we? So if we push this all the way back, yeah, so it can go completely flat. It doesn't do that thing where it'll lift up the side to kind of get the ventilation going underneath. But yeah, that's no problem. You can see we got our laptop built-in camera here as well. Yeah, this is nice. It allows me to showcase what's on the screen easier as well, I guess, right? So here we go, we're kicking off for the first time. I think it comes with Windows 11. You can revert back without much difficulty, I'm pretty sure. Generally speaking though, yeah, it obviously makes a noise, quite a bit of a noise when you're using it. It's not unpleasant, it just sounds like air being blown. So it's not like there's no coily whine or anything at the moment. There's no kind of mechanism or mechanical noise. It just feels like air being blown out of it, you know? Yeah, this is the first entry laptop for Gigabyte into this kind of ultrabook market. But they've made some gaming ones before. It's one of those where people weren't 100% how this was going to be. But yeah, first impression is nice. It's a solid little thing. I'll have to try typing on it and see how I feel. But yeah, just trying to give context of like size for people like this. This is my mobile side hand phone. My hands, as I said, I don't have giant hands, so it may look bigger than you'd think otherwise. And another thing for scale, I have an old Xbox 360 controller. There we go. That helps with scale, right? So I'm used to having like a power port on the back, but I guess these days with the monitors going all the way back, the side is going to be the way to do it. So yeah, just looking up the monitor now. So it's not touchscreen, but yeah, 178 wide viewing angle. That's just about from all angles. And then it says about this 180-degree hinge, so you can have it down flat if you wish. And that it's 100% in terms of the sRGB color, which isn't something a lot of these more affordable ultrabooks have. So yeah, it does seem to have a good old screen. I think it's over 400 nits as well, if I remember correctly. So you do have this kind of strip along the bottom to keep that 16:9 ratio. It's one thing I like, because I kind of like using a normal resolution. And what will be my normal is the standard. So when you play games and that, the default resolution will probably be what your screen is. I was looking at the Razer Book 13 as well. That has uses this extra space at the bottom to extend the screen. So you have yourself a 1920 by 1200 monitor there, which is great for productivity. So I'm basically wanting to test out this laptop to see whether or not it's going to be decent with integrated graphics to run things like Unreal Engine. Okay, so we're back, we're up and running. I've had half hour or so mess around on this, just installing Visual Studio, Unreal Engine, and a couple of pieces of software to try it out. So I've had some time to try out the typing. The typing feels good. The only thing that's going to take a little bit of adjustment for is these. I tend to use my arrow keys while coding to jump around lines and that. And you've got page up and page down on top of them. So yeah, trying to arrow around, I accidentally pressed end a few times and jumped down to the bottom of the file. So that's a slight little disadvantage for me personally as a coder, but it may be something I get used to as well. So yeah, I'm just going to be, I'll use this for a little bit and just show how it performs. I'm not plugged into the power outlet at the moment as well, so that's something to consider as well, because it'll be getting a bit less power. So let me just change some code in this so we can compile it. Gives you a chance to hear the keyboard as well, I guess, right? Okay, so we've done that. Let's save, let's compile and load it up, and you see the speed that it does that in. So the compile itself, it was only 2-line change, it wasn't like a huge change, don't get me wrong. But it's loaded up. It's just a third-person example project, so it's not a huge project either, but still, it's pretty snappy, right? I can go ahead and press play and we can run around in here. I don't have the performance stats on, but as I can turn that on quickly. If we go into here, you may not see it. It might be too small to see. But yeah, I got 60 FPS in editor, and when I'm playing around as well, I've got myself 60 FPS as well. I think Unreal detects some things automatically, because if you look at the edge of this, it looks like it's rounded somewhat with the shading. And so I think it might detect that it's on integrated graphics and lower some of the quality settings in editor. But I mean, I don't mind. I've got 60 FPS running around in this, which is pretty nice, to be honest. I thought it might be a little bit lower. Obviously, the bigger you're seeing, the more kind of complicated meshes and that you've got in there, and textures more so rather than meshes. It's going to be a different experience. Okay, so what are my first impressions of this then? I think it holds up pretty good so far. I've had it off the power now for around an hour and 10 minutes, and we're on 43% battery. I noticed it was going down pretty fast while I was installing. I was downloading and installing pieces of software. It dropped to 20% in around 10-15 minutes. I think it was 15 minutes. And I was a bit concerned about that, but I think once I stopped constantly writing to disk and that, it's probably chilled out a bit. The keyboard's nicely laid out. I'm very happy with it. I've just done, I did a little test type earlier. We got Notepad open. We open this up, get the size up so people can see me typing, hopefully. It depends on the brightness of my camera. But let's just turn Word Wrap on and say, hello there, this is me touch typing on this new laptop. He had a mistake. I haven't. Okay, so maybe slightly different spacing to my keyboard, a little bit like I guess reaching across with my right hand. I haven't really had time to practice on. I'm interested in seeing how likely I am to type with mistakes, given that this laptop is new. And it seems that it really isn't too bad. Yeah, I've not really, I made a couple of mistakes, but yeah, I feel generally think it's laid out nicely. In terms of where the fans are and that as well, I did have a look earlier to kind of find out. Yeah, so just in that gap down there, you can kind of see just there's some fan vents. So yeah, that's where the air is escaping, right at the bottom. Let's look at this keyboard a bit closer. And the trackpad. You see the action when I'm clicking on it, like so. If we go on the top, doesn't really click. Middle does, bottom does with ease as well. And it's down here. This is where you're getting the vents where the heat is escaping. Just down in that gap by the hinge. The screen itself, we might have issues seeing it very well because of the brightness of the screen. Yeah, but if I just tilt this down, you can probably get a bit of an idea of the surroundings of it. And the connectivity on the side. Side one. Connectivity over here as well. So yeah, it's been pleasant to use. The hinge is nice and stiff. You could see that it is so light that I had to use two hands there to close it. If we close this down now, this is how it looks on the back.